everybody, and welcome back to the Garden of Sports. I'm your host, Jake Gardner, alongside my host, Zach Gardner.
What's up, everybody?
And we have a special guest today, returning guy, Kyle Forsythe.
I don't know how I
Give it up
got
for
back left
Kyle.
on the show, but hello, I'm back.
Hello.
We wanted another 3-hour long episode, so
That's
were
probably what
thinking
you're
about
going to get. There's a lot to talk about this week.
yeah, luckily, though, there's no trade talk anymore, so that kind of opens it up a bit.
This is true.
Yeah.
So yeah, now everybody who's listening, you're probably into your fantasy playoffs for football, either week 1 or week 2 by now, and you just need guys to pick up, must plays, and we're going to talk about all that here, and we're going to do a quick recap of last week, so let's jump in.
Garden of Sports has got you, everybody.
Yeah, but real quick, how's your guys' lives going? What's new?
Oh, I don't know why you guys necessarily left me on this show. Let me give you an update on my fantasy right now. So before this week, the past 5 weeks before that, I was number 1 in our family league at 7-2. I went on a 5-game losing streak to finish 7-7, and I missed the playoffs.
I
saw that.
Between injuries, COVID absences, and then just guys just not performing, like Lamar Jackson, who I have on here to talk about. I was just shitting the bed every single week. So I unfortunately missed playoffs, so I don't know necessarily how much I should be on this podcast, but it's fine. I'm already on here. It's already recording, so you can't get rid of me now.
We wouldn't get rid of you anyways. We love having you on here, man.
Well, you made... Hold on. You did make the family championship 4 years in a row, correct?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, and then this year, so he would have been at least in the playoffs 5th year in a row. And like you said, he was the number 1 seed and he just fell off, so sometimes that happens. But
it does. It's maddening, dude. Fantasy is maddening sometimes.
It really is.
Yeah, Zach, really what else is new with you?
Oh man, it's just holiday week with work. I drive, I deliver for Walmart stores, and this is just the busiest time of the year from like the week before Thanksgiving all the way through New Year's. It's just super stressful. Everybody working overtime, not getting as much home time as I normally get, every other week of the year. Mm-hmm. So this is just the rough time of the year. It's just a struggle sometimes mentally this time of year for me. Mm-hmm. And then just nowadays, just not being able to see people as much anymore. It's just a struggle, going through my quarter life crisis, no big deal. But one thing that helps me rekindle the ever dwindling flame of joy in my life is fantasy. So glad I'm able to do this podcast, and yeah. So that's that's how I'm doing. How about you, Jake?
Yeah, I'm a cat dad. When we buy a house, we'll get another cat and a dog, and I will join Kyle in owning a zoo.
Heck yeah.
Biggest thing though, I'm a super nerd, so Spider-Man came out this past weekend, and it was amazing. It was like a first time there's been a sold out, packed theater like that since before COVID, so it was really cool to be a part of. And everybody cheering and clapping. It was pretty awesome.
I have not seen it yet, but everyone I know that has seen it says they loved it. So I can't wait to go see it. I'm seeing it next weekend.
You got to go in blind. Don't find any spoilers.
Yeah, I've been staying away from spoilers, but Deanna and I are going to see it over the next weekend. So got to hold out just a few more days.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, let's jump in. Enough about us. Who cares? Surprises of the week. Surprises of the last week. There's actually a lot here that probably nobody expected, especially Duke Johnson, nobody owned, but 25.2 fantasy points. And we're talking a half-point PPR here.
Actually not surprising. Tyler Huntley did very well. I picked that, so.
Did you play him?
No.
Oh. I was going to say, what a genius. But no, 4.5% of ESPN users picked him up, so that's pretty cool.
Wow.
But yeah, Tyler Huntley, 35.9 fantasy points. Basically, he's been training with Lamar Jackson and did exactly the same thing Lamar would have done. So,
yeah,
it's kind of crazy.
It's like the GM of that team, knows what type of offense they like to run. It's crazy concept what they're doing over there in Buffalo. Like
Buffalo.
actually having some sort of, or Baltimore actually having some sort of plan, and it's cool to see a team like a team that actually has some sense of what they're doing over there.
We don't do that in Chicago.
We're in Chicago,
No.
so we're the polar opposite of that.
Maybe next year, that's what we say. But Mark Andrews, 30.6 fantasy points. I think that's his best week of the year. And he was already like the number 2 tight end anyway. So I think he will finish as the number 2. Travis Kelce also went off this week. So unless Travis Kelce sits out with this COVID protocols too long, that's your 1 and 2 right there. And like we said, Duke Johnson, 25.2 fantasy points. Zach, your boy, Gabriel Davis, 23 fantasy points.
Hey, I can say I was right now, huh?
Yeah, I did not believe in what you were saying 2 weeks ago, but
I've been holding out. I've been holding out for 14 weeks, waiting for this moment.
Well, he's had 3 good weeks in a row. Kind of after the first week after he had like 10 points, and you were like, "Oh, he could keep doing this," and I said no.
Him and Russell Gage, kind of the same way. We had them pegged for breakouts, and it took a little while, but here they are.
Took longer than we thought. Hunter Henry, 22.7 fantasy points. We were kind of hyping him up last week, and lo and behold, here he is, doing what he does best. So that's a must grab. We'll talk about him more later. Christian Kirk, 19.9 fantasy points. So that's good for him, but the team just, I don't know what's up with them. We'll talk a little bit more here. Jeff Wilson Jr., 18.9 fantasy points. But he was just a fill-in, so I don't know. What do you guys think about him? Is that a breakout?
I mean, I think he's a flex until Elijah Mitchell comes back. But yeah, as long as Elijah Mitchell's out, Wilson's the play, for the time being, for now and the foreseeable future. But once Elijah Mitchell's back, they love him over there. Like the coach they literally have a stable of running backs, and the coach talks glowingly about Elijah Mitchell, so that they want to get him involved. So if he's not playing, Wilson's the play for sure. But once he's back, they're going to be giving him all the touches like they've been all season, basically. So
yeah, for sure. Let's break into storylines, though, because we just talked about Christian Kirk doing really well. But what about the rest of the team in the Cardinals? What's going on with them? Are they going to fall off a cliff to end the season here? I mean, did either of you catch that whole game? Because I did not.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think, Kyle? Did you watch that? Because I caught a little bit of it.
I was catching bits and pieces. That were on. I had a different game on. I forget what other game I was watching. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like they're doing the same exact thing that Pittsburgh did last year. Last year, Pittsburgh was undefeated for how many weeks? How far did they go? 11 games, I think.
They were 11.
They were double digits.
Yeah.
But basically the same thing. And then they just got into a funk and they couldn't get out of it. And I feel like that happens a lot more to the teams that, are usually really, really good and they're going undefeated. And then all of a sudden they kind of get into this funk and it's hard for them to get out of it. I don't know. I mean, Kyler just looked he just looked out of place, out of touch. The defense just surprisingly had no answer for Jared Goff all night, which is the first time we've said that since he was in Los Angeles. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know with how bad they've been playing as of recently. I don't know if I would necessarily say it's just a fluke for them, but I think that they're talented enough to where they can get out of it. They got to do it for themselves. But I mean, well done, Detroit. I mean, it really was a good game on all 3 sides of the ball for them. I mean, Jared Goff limited his mistakes. I actually don't think he threw a single interception. I had to check on that. But I don't know. I don't know what to say about Arizona. I'm worried for them. I really am. I mean, it just seems like Aaron Rodgers came in and jinxed him, because after the game he told Kyler, like, "Oh, we'll see you in the playoffs." I don't know, trying to be nice or whatever, but he totally jinxed him because they've been in a total funk since then. So I don't know.
I want to think that what it was is they all were like, "Hey, we're in Detroit. They suck. So I think they all went out drinking or something the night before. That's what I want to believe.
In
But
Detroit?
who knows? Was it in Detroit or was it in?
I
Either
don't
way, either way, I'm saying that I think they overlooked Detroit, and it's just one of those games.
know.
Just one of those games, they say any given Sunday. But yeah, Kyle brings up a great point though about Pittsburgh. This is starting to look eerily similar to that epic collapse. Oh,
Right.
we just got to see that. I mean, I think that's a great point because, I mean, momentum is an easy thing to lose and a hard thing to get back in the NFL, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they got to do it for
Unless
themselves.
you're
No
the
one's else.
Packers.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well,
I don't want to talk about the Packers.
Well, that gives them the secure number 1 seed right now with the Cardinals losing and Tampa Bay losing. And
Absolutely right. Right.
Yeah, can the Rams overtake the Cardinals at this point now? They're only a game behind at this point.
So I don't know. That was like one of the other things that I wanted to talk about is because I don't know. I mean, we saw the Rams like just kind of doing the same thing, just stumbling. And you're like, okay, this is not at all how I thought this season was going to go for you. And then they've picked it up. And even like the most recent game was much better and much, it was far more looking to where we thought they would probably be with Stafford there now. So I don't know if Arizona continues to play that the way that they are and Kyler not being able to be the guy, I don't know, because they go up they don't, not necessarily an easy ending of their schedule, because Arizona goes next. They're at home against Indy, then they go to Dallas, and then the final game of the season they're at home versus Seattle, which is a division matchup. So not necessarily an easy 3 games to end on either. But I feel like at least 2 of 3 have to be must wins for them. I feel like if they lose more than one, I feel like they are. I don't know. They might be close to being out, depending on how some of these other teams that are in the wild card spot are playing. If they lose all 3 of those games, I feel like they could easily almost be out of the playoffs.
The Cardinals?
The Cardinals.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I guess they. Who's right behind them? The Rams could take the division.
Yeah.
49ers are back 2 games.
49ers are a scary team. I think if whoever plays them in the playoffs is probably going to get upset. They're playing good football right now. And they get Elijah Mitchell back healthy for the playoffs. I mean, because they're probably gonna make it in. I mean, Kittle's carrying them right now. So
yeah, what do you guys think about Green Bay? Are they gonna keep the number 1 seed, and can anyone beat them in the playoffs?
Well, I'll take this. I'll start here. I think Green Bay is just doing what Green Bay always does. It's the same thing every year with them. They'll make it in. They're beating. Good for Green Bay. They're beating injured teams right now. So props to them. They can beat the backup quarterback on Baltimore by 1 point. So good for them. But I think Green Bay
salt
is
here.
A little bit.
No, Green Bay is a good team, but this is not out of the ordinary for them to be playing good in the regular season. I'm not going to say, because they always look good in the regular season, so I'm not going to say that this means that they're all of a sudden going to win a Super Bowl when they've looked like this literally like the last 10 years. So, but yeah, they've always had a good enough team to win Super Bowls. So I'm not gonna.
I don't know if it's been this open though in a while, because we just talked about how the Cardinals are very on and off. The Cowboys we've seen all season are on and off.
But I mean,
their play, and then the Buccaneers should have won easily this week, and they laid a dud against the Saints.
Yeah, the thing is their defense. I don't know if their defense is good enough, because they just gave up 30 points to a really rough looking team that almost really upset them. So if I was a Green Bay fan, I would be a little worried about that defense in the playoffs. because I feel like they got to score 35 a game if they're going to, like, in the playoffs to make it to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's their last dance.
Which they honestly could do that, but we just got to see if they will do that. But they have the talent to be able to do that. But, you know, the playoffs, it's colder weather. Teams usually are a little more stout defensively. They don't take as many chances with things. Things aren't as open. You know, it's just there's a lot of factors in playoff football that makes it different. And their defense would be the thing that would give me a little bit of a hesitation. But they definitely could win a Super Bowl for sure.
Yeah, Kyle, you got anything to add to that hate or?
Me just stewing over here. No, I don't know. I mean, looking at the standings and everything, it actually, I didn't realize that a lot of NFC teams actually lost this past week. So I don't think that the Cardinals are going to be. I think the Cardinals basically have it locked that they'll be in the playoffs. But as far as winning the NFC West, though, I think that's iffy now. That they're on a two-game losing streak, and the Rams and the 49ers are both on 2-game winning streaks.
The Rams play tomorrow.
Correct.
So they can even it up.
Well, absolutely. And that's one of the things that I don't know. I think at the beginning of the season, I would have told you the Rams. Right now, maybe the Rams, but I don't think Dallas. And then Arizona and the Rams are just kind of iffy for me. I mean, I think overall though, I think probably the Buccaneers. Just besides that, I think it's probably the Buccaneers. If I had to pick one team, I know they just laid an egg against the Saints, and it was bad. They were totally in Tom Brady's head, but we know how Tom Brady responds after losses like that.
Right.
Normally, he comes right back, and he's just unbeatable for the games after that. And that's exactly what happened last year. The Bears had beaten the Buccaneers, and after that, the Buccaneers went on a run and ended up winning the Super Bowl. I think they'll get back on their horse. If I had to pick a team, I'd say Buccaneers would have the best chance to take down the Pack.
And then, sorry, Kyle, I'll let you finish that, but I just wanted to add in to your point about the Buccaneers. If the Saints are Tom Brady's kryptonite, he's not going to see them in the playoffs. So, you know.
Right. No, unfortunately, well, then again, who really knows though? Because they're 7-7, and there's not very many teams in the NFC that have winning records right now. You have one.
So they might squeak in.
They'd totally
have to
could
take out the 49ers or anybody in the West that are those. The NFC West has 3 teams in, so 2 are the wild cards.
Because right now, winning records that are 500 or better are the Cowboys, who are easily in control of the NFC East. Then you have the Cardinals, Rams, and 49ers in the West. You have the Packers in the North, and then Buccaneers and Saints in the South. So that's 7 teams. So, I mean, I think the Saints are for sure in the mix, because I don't foresee any of these other teams being able to make a stand and try and be able to get that spot. Maybe the Vikings, if they're able to sneak away a win against the Bears tonight, and then I don't know who they're playing the rest of the 3 games, but I think they play the Bears twice actually in these next games.
So the Bears go on a 4-game win streak here to end the season. Do they somehow make it in, Kyle?
No, oh my God.
No, unfortunately for the Chicago Bears fans who are listening, including all of us, unfortunately, no, I don't think the Chicago Bears are going to be in the playoffs. Looking at this right now. Hot take, yeah, right. So Vikings actually play the Rams, Green Bay, and then Chicago after tonight's game. So those are 2 really tough games, followed then by another game against Chicago. I don't know. It'll be interesting. But anyway, besides that, though, I think the Saints could possibly be in.
Okay.
Depending on
how... I didn't realize they were 7-7. That's an impressive 7-7. They got
especially for how much turmoil they've had this entire year. I didn't realize they were even either.
That 7-7 feels like a 12-4 normally for them.
Right. Well, especially now with Breeze being gone, I don't think people really expected a whole lot. So I'm actually a little surprised they're 7-7, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, how much does Chris Godwin's injury impact Tampa Bay's Super Bowl hopes?
Well, screw their Super Bowl hopes. How about Zach's fantasy football championship hopes?
Oh. Hey, he helped you make the playoffs.
Yeah, he
nice.
did. Luckily, I was able to pick up Russell. I have Russell Gage and Amon-Ra St. Brown on my bench, so
perfect.
I think hopefully I'll be able to get through. Those guys have been doing pretty good. Now I actually am able to start a couple of them because injuries happen. So that's why you're, even if you're picking up good players and having them on your bench, that's never a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I don't know. I think we saw last night firsthand what happens when you take away good receivers from Tom Brady. Tom Brady cannot run. The run game is absolutely downtrodden right now in Tampa Bay. You take away the good receivers out of Tampa Bay, Tom Brady struggled. Mightily struggled.
Did Fournette get hurt?
Fournette and Mike Evans both have hamstring injuries.
Correct.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I missed
They left
the Fournette
during
one.
the game, though. He had him part of the game.
Correct. But once they were all gone, he struggled. So again, it's Tom Brady. We've seen it before, so I'm not going to say anything. But it definitely hurts them. How much is going to remain to be seen? Because I don't know if this past game is just going to be a continuation, throughout the next games if they don't have their big names. So
I think Antonio Brown will be back sooner than later.
Yeah, this next week he's supposed to come back from his suspension.
Mm-hmm.
He's a must grab if he's available in your league. I know he's been dropped some places, so.
And then that one, is Scotty Miller still hurt as well? Because I know Tom Brady likes him, and if he's available, he'll get more run too.
That's
a
good
question. I'm not actually really sure. Scotty
Miller is healthy. I would say I saw him play. I thought I saw him playing.
Yeah, because he's been like the guy they put in if they need like a Hail Mary situation. He hasn't played much, but
true. So he went Scotty Miller was there. He went 2 for 3 for 18 yards and 2.8 fantasy points in half PPR.
Okay. Well, a week of practice, he'll put up 18 fantasy points next week.
Now that might be a hot take. If we had a hot take button, I'd press it right there.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, they are coming out hot. I'm spewing them out hot.
I think Chris Godwin is really going to hurt unless Antonio Brown comes baback to
it's definitely
early season form.
But to actually answer the question, because I was joking about my fantasy team, I'm just going to be quick here. I think it does impact their Super Bowl hopes because Chris Godwin's like a safety valve. He's a possession guy, He's a guy that he'll get you those tough catches like in the middle of the field.
Huge target too.
Yeah, losing a guy like that, of course, it's going to impact it because Scotty Miller and Antonio Brown they don't play the same way, and now it's just going to be even more pressure now on the shoulders of Gronkowski, to be able to play that way because he's the only guy they have kind of right now that can play that way.
Yeah, well, more like on his ribs, right? Pressure on his ribs.
We'll see what they do. Maybe Brashad Perriman can play like that, but I think he's more of a speed guy too. So I don't know. We got to see what they do if they bring anybody up and just go out and maybe sign some big bruising guy, just somebody that can do that type of thing. But yeah, that definitely will hurt them.
Yeah.
Sure.
I had a topic that I want to bring up with you guys, which I found just hugely fascinating. So,
sir.
Some craziness in the AFC with Las Vegas just got done winning against Cleveland on a last-second field goal. So if you had Daniel Carlson, I think he had 13 points in half PPR tonight. So you definitely got some good points out of your kicker. But that means that now there are 13 teams in the AFC that are 500 or better.
That's crazy.
13 out of 16 are 500
Yeah.
or better. Obviously, we know now that's exactly why all the NFC teams are below 500, because we can tell who they've been losing to. But I wanted just to run through real quick with you guys and ask you quickly in each conference who you think is going to win it and why. So the AFC East, 500 or better. We have the Patriots at 9-5, the Bills at 8-6, and the Dolphins at 7-7. Who do you guys think is going to take that?
Patriots.
I'm gonna go Patriots, but I
think they were due for a fluke game.
My body's telling me to go with the
Didn't
Dolphins.
Didn't they have a 7-game win streak?
Yeah, they did. They went crazy.
I think they were due for a loss like this, and they're going to bounce back just fine. I don't think the Bills are going to pass them.
But we did see Mac Jones struggle when everything didn't work out just 100% perfectly for him. Like, they have a lead, they're not having to press. He's able to when they actually needed him to make some big time throws, and they're having to stick with the Colts. He didn't do so well. So I don't know if maybe we're seeing Mac Jones actually look like a rookie right now.
Well, we know their wins aren't due to Mac Jones; they're due to the defense.
Yeah,
the defense are the ones that let it go.
What I'm getting at is, as we get farther closer to the playoffs and into the playoffs, it's gonna have to be more. They're gonna need Mac Jones to make some plays.
But that's not their winning formula.
True, but he's not big and flashy, but he's also been effective enough to where they've been able to make stuff work. He's been able to score points. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's definitely not, any of these, and Kyler Murray, any of these guys that can move around really well and run, but he's still been able to just effectively move the ball, move the team, and win games. So I don't know. I think it's hard to say no to the Bills, but the Bills just don't intrigue me much this year as they did last year. So I think that, unfortunately, as much as I don't like the Patriots, I think the Patriots will be there too.
Yeah.
To the AFC West, you got actually all the teams are 500 and better in the AFC West. You have the Chiefs at 10-4, Chargers 8-6, and then Raiders and Broncos both now 7-7. Do we really want to talk about why the Chiefs are going to win the AFC West or not?
No.
No.
All that talk in the first couple months about them falling off is over. They've kind of bounced back to the number one team they thought they were.
Yeah.
It's like that coach, the Cardinals coach, said against the Bears.
Right. They are who we thought they were. Yeah, for sure. That was a little easy. This next one's a little more difficult because the AFC North now is all the same. All four are above 500. You had the Bengals at 8-6, the Ravens at 8-6, Steelers at 7-6-1, and the Browns now at 7-7. Who do you think takes that one?
The Baltimore with Tyler Huntley. Tyler Huntley, Super Bowl MVP.
Hot take.
Oh wow, the Bengals schedule's really tough.
No, I'm going Cincinnati. I really want them to make it because I think that they could actually do something in the playoffs. But I also like the Browns. I'm rooting for the Ohio teams in that division.
The Ravens schedule is really tough too. So the Bengals and the Ravens, who are at the top, have pretty hard last 3 games, one against each other. Then Bengals have Kansas City, and then the Browns. Baltimore has Bengals, Rams, Steelers. Wow.
And then the Browns have Green Bay, Pittsburgh, and Cincy. So really, all of them have super hard schedules the next 3 weeks.
Yeah. So if they all have super hard schedules, I'm just gonna go. It shakes out.
So
who
do you think's gonna win 2 out of the 3?
I think
That's
Cincinnati.
what it comes down to.
I think Cincinnati, but I also could see Cleveland doing it. I think one of those two is gonna win the division, in my opinion.
I don't know.
Wow.
I'm gonna go with Baltimore. As much as unbelievably frustrating as Lamar Jackson has been, he's also basically not been healthy almost every single week. He's been injured, questionable almost every week. Now he's taken a week off. He's been able to hopefully be rested up, kind of get away from these he's been having leg injuries basically almost every week for the past 5 weeks. That's part of the reason why I think I've lost 5 games in a row is because he hasn't been producing. I don't know. I think he takes an extra week. I think he comes back wanting to try and take this team, especially with these last 2 hard losses in the final seconds. I don't know what Harbaugh is thinking, but I don't know. I'm going Baltimore. I think that if there's a team that I think is strong enough to go and to try and win enough of their schedule, I think it's Baltimore.
Okay.
All right. I know, right?
No,
and then
I'll take
the
Bears.
The Bengals. Take the Bears.
God damn it. I'm gonna go Bengals. I think the Chiefs are due for a loss, and they play them in 2 weeks, and I think they could shoot it out with them. And
that would be awesome to see. That'd be awesome to see.
They've got the weapons. They've got the weapons.
I agree. Can they put it all together though at the right time? Try and win these games. That's been their hardest thing. Well, and what's funny is the Bengals are 5-2 away. They're 3-4 at home. So if they're just playing away, they'll be fine. They'll be able to win no matter what. So
yeah.
All right. Well, there's some good ones. And then last one, AFC South. Really, only 2 teams: Titans at 9-5, and the Colts. The AFC Colts. All right. Well, we know who you're taking. Titans at 9-5, Colts at 8-6. Obviously, Texans and Jaguars are both. I think they've both statistically been eliminated from playoffs. Is that? I know Texans for sure. Have the Jaguars been statistically eliminated?
Yeah, they were
they
eliminated.
Have to, they have to be, right?
Yeah, I saw that pop up yesterday.
Okay, so between the 2 of them, obviously, Zach, we like the Colts. Why do you like the Colts?
I do love me the Indianapolis Jonathan Taylors. They're very good. Yeah, I just give me Jonathan Taylor. He's that guy, right? He's Derrick Henry Jr. Just give him the ball. I haven't liked a running back that much. Like, he makes me feel things. It's just, he's a great running back. I think they're going to make some noise because they have a good defense and they can run the ball that well. They're going to be a hard team to beat in the playoffs. I think they're definitely going to win the division. I think they're definitely going to.
Zach, I'm picturing a guy sitting in your break room just looking at you right now.
I'm in my truck, so.
Oh, okay.
There's actually a guy across the parking lot looking at me through the truck window, though. So you're not far off.
All right. Well, we know who got you if we hear about it.
True.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I'm picking the Colts. I think they can honestly represent the AFC in the Super Bowl too, because they play great defense. They play great defense and they control the time of possession. So well. They're going to be one of the hardest teams to beat. Them and the Patriots are going to be very hard teams to beat in the playoffs.
I hear you. So last 3 games for the last upcoming games for the Colts is at Arizona, at home versus Las Vegas, and then at Jacksonville to close out the year for the Colts. So pretty. That's not horrible compared to the AFC North teams that we just looked at. That's not necessarily a horrible to look at. Now for the Titans, they're at home versus San Fran, home versus Miami, and then at Houston. So actually it's even easier than for the Titans. That's why I'm going to pick the Titans to win the AFC South. I think on schedule alone, I think obviously they have 2 games there that I would imagine they would win. Not could be wrong, but I don't know. I think that as good as Indy's offense is, you're right when you say a lot of it revolves around Jonathan Taylor, and even though he has been fantastic, he is no Derrick Henry to where he's not despite all pressure and everyone hitting him at every single moment of every play, Jonathan Taylor, if he gets shut down, I just think that they are very one-sided with him, and that Carson Wentz is not the guy to be able to sling the ball. So if any of these teams are able to shut down Jonathan Taylor, I think the Colts will struggle. So for me, based on being a little more multidimensional with the Titans, I feel like the Titans might take it.
Because everything is dependent on Jonathan Taylor for the Colts. Because they play a lot of play action because of him. So.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you,
Jake,
what do you
shut him down? Yeah. You're right about that. Jake's turn.
Yeah, I'm going with the Colts. I mean, I think they are a little more than just Jonathan Taylor if you beat the Patriots defense. And
yeah, I mean the number one defense
Cardinals
couldn't shut him down.
Yeah, the Cardinals are off like we've been talking about, and that's their hardest team left, and then they have the Raiders and Jaguars. I think they could win all three.
You don't, but you got to remember too that Tennessee's are a game up as well, though, and Tennessee's got
their game up. Do they have the tiebreaker?
That's a good
I gotta
question.
look that up.
I don't
think I don't think the Titans are winning next week against the 49ers, who are hot.
Ooh,
and the Dolphins.
Okay.
They play the Dolphins the week after that, and the Dolphins are on a 5-game win
Dolphins
streak.
are playing good football, yeah.
Dolphins have been playing some pretty good football.
And Julio Jones came back, but then he got hurt again. But they're about to have AJ Brown back next week. I just don't know if it's enough. And like they have tape now on their backup running backs. So
yeah.
And we know the Dolphins defense is really good.
And the 49ers defense is really good too, actually.
Are they doing better now?
They're a top half. I think they're number 14, 13. They're in the top half of the list.
Okay. I just see the Colts winning more of the last three, and I'm going to give it to them.
Okay. I mean, two good teams. I think both those teams are playoff teams no matter what. So
yeah, they could.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think so too. I think a lot of it though is going to come down to, unfortunately, this year. Looking at it, there's going to be a lot of teams that are above 500. Usually, sometimes you only have one or two of those. But unfortunately, we're going to probably see a lot of those in the AFC, which is unfortunate because obviously those guys have had good seasons and it's just not enough this year. So
yeah, there's going to be like an 11-6 team, a couple of them in the AFC that don't make it in, and there'll be some like
11-6. Are you serious? Maybe
there'll be an 11-6 team that misses it in the AFC, and then the NFC there'll be an 8-9 team that makes it in. And you're just like, wow, that's just weird how it works out, because there's so many good teams in the AFC. So
true.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I'm glad we talked about it because that was something that they were saying hasn't happened in a very long time, and actually that was before they had played tonight. So I don't even know what the statistics are on the last time that's happened, where 13 out of the 16 teams have been 500 or better. I'm curious. I'll have to do some research. But anyway. Thanks for playing the game. We'll see how right we are in a few weeks.
Yeah. Let's put some money on it.
All right.
I'm gonna go over injury news kind of quick because we did take up a bit of time here.
Just run through it.
I'm gonna skim, and one guy I did miss. He's done. And I'm going to go through the COVID list entries of noticeable fantasy players that I saw, and then we'll share a link in the description of the full list of NFL players on the COVID list. So here's the COVID list for fantasy relevant players: Travis Kelce, Austin Eckler, Harrison Butker, Kareem Hunt, Jarvis Landry, Tyler Higbee, Jamal Williams, Alexander Madison, Allen Robinson, Elijah Moore, and Tyler Lockett. You guys can let me know if I'm missing anybody there. And we'll share a link here with the full list. And then biggest injury, I think, of the week is Chris Godwin, out for the remainder of the season with a torn ACL. Hit to Tampa Bay, and we'll see how they bounce back. Leonard Fournette, like we said earlier, injured his hamstring, and he could miss some time, is how they described it. So they're kind of being vague, which makes me think... I mean, we know how Tampa Bay is with injuries throughout this season so far. They're saving everybody for the playoffs, so they're not going to rush anybody back. Darren Waller, knee to miss tonight's game. He's playing on Monday night. So hopefully he's back soon if you're an owner. DeAndre Swift shoulder, hopeful to return to practice this week. Elijah Mitchell concussion / knee. Coach is holding out hope he can play Thursday. So we'll see. I doubt it. I'm an expert, so. Damian Harris, hamstring, missed Sunday's game. Yeah, that could have been a big hit to the Patriots as well, opening up the game a bit more. TJ Hawkinson, thumb, had season-ending surgery Friday, so he's done. And they're playing better without him. Joe Mixon, ankle. Final play of drive, injured his ankle, and I did not see any details unless you guys heard anything.
Haven't heard.
There's no timetable yet or how serious it is listed because it was at the end of the game. Mike Evans' hamstring is week to week, but the coach is hopeful he'll play next week. So, again, they're being a little vague. Adam Thielen was going through pregame warmups before the game tonight with the Bears, so I don't know if he's actually playing right now.
Was ruled out out before the game, so not playing.
Did not
today.
play. All right. And A.J. Brown to return from injured reserve. And Emmanuel Sanders' knee inactive for week 15. So if I'm missing anybody, you guys can go ahead and name them, or otherwise we'll break into scoops.
You have it, folks. That's the injuries.
That is it. Oh my God, what a list! I can tell you right now, every single person who's in the playoffs right now. I would love to see anyone take a picture of your lineup and post it to either the Facebook or I don't know what other social media you guys have for Garden of Sports yet. But if anyone has a starting lineup that doesn't have any of these people that we just mentioned in it, please post a picture of it because I don't think there are many, especially between the COVID and then the injuries. There's every single lineup is going to be affected. There's no way that you're not. So that's why if you're going to call me out and say, Kyle, you're a liar, I have a roster right here that none of the people that were named are people that I have, then please let us put a picture of it on Facebook because I want to see it.
Maybe a 20-team league team might not have one of those guys, but
there's no way. I still think there's no way. Maybe the 2-team league where they all have like 1,000 starters on each end. Yeah. But anyway, let's do it. Scoop them up.
Yeah, that's what makes good transition because that's what makes this segment even more important on the scoops. It's basically we have a lot of players in here that are replacement fill-in players, as well as just kind of second half breakout guys. But let's get into it. We got like 20 people to talk about, so buckle up.
We're gonna start with the sun. We're gonna start with the sun god.
The sun god.
He has returned. He is among us. Yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Did you guys all sacrifice your goats this week?
Detroit fans said.
I did not, unfortunately, and I was late to the party with it, I guess.
Oh my God. Yeah, 2 stud weeks in a row, correct?
I think this actually is his 3rd stud week in a row.
3rd. Yeah, This guy, we were talking about it last week as a must grab. He's at the top of our list. He was on our graphic. Our graphics are important. And he's still only 24.4% owned. This might be the number. Oh, God, yeah, 3 stud weeks. Wow. Detroit second half. And they have he's a must grab, especially because they have Atlanta next week. I mean.
Right. Absolutely.
This guy's a steal.
Totally is. Well, in the last 3 weeks, he's had in full PPR, he's had 15.3, 23.5, and 24.8 fantasy points with 2 touchdowns in separate games of those 3, though. But I think with Hawkinson being out, and
this is the guy.
I think that this is just one of the guys that's taken over. This is the guy. This is Amon-Ra. I drafted him in the draft, like with my last pick. And he really wasn't doing much, and I had to pick someone else, so I had to drop him, unfortunately. But if anyone did pick him up, here's to you, because this is what they were saying this guy could have been at the beginning of the season.
Did you drop him last week?
No. I'm talking, this is like week 5 or 6. I had to drop him because he wasn't playing. They had him as a healthy scratch, and so then I had to drop him for somebody else because I had injuries. So
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I added him over this week, so.
Gotcha. That's a good ad, especially right now with how how Goff and the Lions were able to play this past week, I mean, if they're able to continue without Hawkinson, he's going to be looking for playmakers, and Amon-Ra could definitely be that guy. So
yeah, and then Kyle, I saw you had on here to talk about a guy that when I was skimming through this list, I was seeing it because I wanted to talk about this guy, and since we're talking about Detroit right now with Amon-Ra St. Brown, we could talk about Josh Reynolds as well. I think this is a good guy to look at as well for Detroit.
absolutely. So I have him down as 3.1% rostered in Yahoo leagues. This past week, 18.8 fantasy points in full PPR, and has had at least 5 targets in the last 4 weeks, which I've always been with my receivers that I always look at. I've always look at targets, the amount of volume that they're getting. But I think one of the weeks he had like 9 or 10 targets was like the top that he had. I mean, if you're getting 5 throws a week as one of the backups already, now Hawkinson's out. I mean, that's some impressive numbers that you could think could maybe go up in terms of his volume. So
yeah,
he's hardly owned.
I've had my eye on Josh Reynolds for like literally the last 4 weeks, ever since Detroit got him, because they signed him off of the street, right? He wasn't on a team; he was a free agent, right? I'm pretty sure he was released by whatever team he was on, and then Detroit signed him because Jared Goff played with him in L.A. So they were bringing him in just for some familiarity, and I've been watching him ever since because he's been looking like his L.A. self ever since he got over to Detroit. And so, yeah, and he's starting to come into his own now after a month of playing, and he always had that good rapport with Goff. I think this is a great guy to look at if you can't get Amon-Ra St. Brown, everybody will be trying to get this week. You might be able to add a little easier, get Josh Reynolds, who is also putting up some decent stats. So,
sure. No, I think especially when it comes to right now with all those names that we said earlier and plus 1,000 others on the COVID list, if there's anyone, if there's going to be people that you're looking for, this could be a guy that could possibly get, like I said, that increased volume. So if you're hurting, I'd say try and pick him up. He's hardly owned, 3.1%. So, I mean, I'm sure you could get him without even needing to necessarily put in a waiver on him. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you miss out on Amon-Ra St. Brown, then you can just on Wednesday just grab Josh Reynolds, probably just add him.
Right, absolutely. Who do you got next for us, Jake?
And if you can't get either of them, just real quick, jump off a cliff. That might feel good too. But yeah, next up, Russell Gage. I just want to talk about a couple guys that are higher percent owned, but they could be available in a 10-team league, maybe not a 12-team. But Russell Gage, we've been hyping up for months now.
Yeah.
And he's been going off. Atlanta's going to finish the season pretty strong. I'm not saying they're going to win a bunch of games, but he's a key grab. He's only 54.6% owned. And if he was lower owned, you could put him right next to Amon-Ra St. Brown. But yeah, right now he's also a top grab for me, top 3 this week.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking through the list and you're gauging who to grab, I mean, Russell Gage just looks like the guy to do it, just looks.
You need a dad joke button is what you also need on this show.
Yeah, dad. Zach's secretly got some kids because he does this every week.
Pulling out the dad jokes, man. You're just like your father. Especially with obviously Ridley being out probably the rest of the season. I think that Russell Gage's stock went up. It only went up so much just because they just were not playing well. But they've been playing a little bit better as of recently. Matt Ryan's been able to throw the ball a little bit better recently. Don't know really what else changed for them, but they seem to have found a little bit of a niche. So I'd say do him. You could also look to another guy. I'm just going down the list. Could be Christian Kirk. 60% owned, but an interesting name that I feel like is always in the mix every single year for flex play. What do you guys think on him?
Yeah, he's a guy that he's just historically, even this year, he's just, I feel like after he goes off, after he has a good week, he's, everybody's like, oh, this guy's easily worth a pickup. He's so hot and cold. You get him on your team, and then it's just actually trust to set him into your lineup because you just never know if you're E or 20. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, with
For sure.
DeAndre Hopkins on IR though, I think he's a must grab, and
okay. Well, with that in that situation, yeah, but
it's kind of showing with, I mean, this week especially, but people are already grabbing him. I just put him on here because there's still a chance you could get him. He's 62% owned in ESPN. I mean, you could even put him ahead of Russell Gage, just considering his quarterback. And, I mean, he could be the lead wideout now. I hesitate to say it, but he might just be.
I think he
Rondell,
is. Yeah.
Rondell Moore is questionable. We know AJ Green's a little older, so
Yeah,
where we're at.
I totally forgot. I totally forgot about Hopkins. I didn't hear though that it was season ending. I had heard that he was injured and that they were doing further workup, but I hadn't heard that he's completely out the rest of the year.
Rest of the season, he said it could be ready to come off injured reserve if the Cardinals advance to the NFC Championship game. But a return earlier than that is considered unrealistic.
Wow.
End
Wow.
quote.
So
Christian Kirk, yeah.
So Christian Kirk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hadn't heard that news. I just heard that they were doing further testing because that's what they always say as soon as they get hurt. So
Yeah,
same
like how Tampa Bay is being vague.
Same for me.
that's how it always is.
With
that
information going to be more reliable.
Sure.
We're losing you with that Wi-Fi there, man.
Damn.
No, it was just a little bit. Jeff Wilson Jr., 18.9 fantasy points. We already briefly talked about him, Zach, earlier, and you said only if Elijah, right, is out, you grab this guy. But with running back being so thin, I don't know if he's the number one running back. I think we're going to talk about another guy here to grab in a sec, but I mean, that's a pretty stud performance.
Absolutely. I mean, he's worth picking up and adding. I'm talking about starting. Obviously you're not going to start him if Elijah Mitchell's playing, but he's worth a pickup and have on your bench, abs for sure.
Yeah, it's almost like you hold and see if Elijah doesn't come back. It's a great flex. But Kyle, you have anything on him?
I think that I'm still kind of scarred from last year of trying to navigate the San Francisco running backs.
Yeah,
because that was me last year, was trying to go between Mostert and then I think it was him for a game, and it was yes, exactly. So like I don't know. It doesn't hurt to pick up an extra running back because you never know who else is going to be on that injured list that we're going to say, or the COVID list now, because it's just getting so bad. So if you have the spot for him, grab him. But I don't know. I'm still scarred from last year, so I don't have.
You get your personal biases.
I do a little bit, and it's bad. I'm trying not to, but unfortunately, that's still just one that I have from last year. So
for sure. All right. Well, Antonio Brown, another one I'd higher owned, but I wanted to mention him because he's a must grab if he's available in your league, and he has been dropped, with the suspension. 67% owned in ESPN, and with Chris Godwin out for the year, I mean, you have to own this guy. This is potentially a league winner. So
yeah,
if he's available, gotta grab him. Not really anything to discuss there. So Hunter Henry, 47.6% owned. We've been talking about him as we don't understand how he's not higher, Zach. And maybe he's higher in Yahoo. I haven't looked at his percent there, but
he
could finish top 5 tight end easily. And he's not even owned. I mean, what is that? I think, Zach, we lost you there. Kyle, you have anything on Henry?
I mean, he's been a name for a handful of years now. I'm actually surprised he's only 47.6% owned. I'm honestly, but then again, it's he necessarily hasn't had as good of a year this year as he normally does. And I think that that's partially, to the fact that the team that he's on, the Chargers, which they are, New England, you got a brand new rookie quarterback who was playing like absolute garbage to begin the season. The team itself wasn't playing very good. Now all of a sudden they've gotten on a roll and they've won. How many in a row have they won now? Or they just lost.
They had
I think they're
won
on
7, yeah.
7 in a row. There you go. So they're getting hot, and obviously, if there's a team that's starting to get hot that is going to throw the ball like Mac Jones is starting to get more comfortable and he's starting to do, I don't think that it hurts, especially because he's the number 6 position rank on the Yahoo app, which is unbelievable to me. The number 6 tight end is only 47% owned. So
he was the number 2 at one point this year, just a few weeks ago. So
which is crazy.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. So
must grab.
I think so, especially if you need a tight end.
Yeah.
Even if you need a backup, you don't want another team getting them. I mean,
right.
That too
could be why you lose. So
absolutely, could be.
It's a must grab. Not necessarily like if like you said, if you already have a starter tight end, you want to grab one of these wideouts first. But this could be your number 2 waiver ad.
Right. Absolutely.
Here's a must grab. Ronald Jones. Talked about him last week for deep leagues. He's only 23% owned. We just talked about how Fournette got hurt. We just talked about how Chris Godwin is out. And Ronald Jones can catch the ball. So he could also get more catches, more targets, more carries. I think he's a must grab.
In a PPR league, this guy is the top ad for the week. Because he's going to catch some passes. So
top running back guaranteed. You got to sell me on the top grab overall. Is just because of the roster he's on, Zach.
Yeah. Well, I think he's gonna get all the carries and he's gonna get some passes thrown. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And last year, I mean, we knew he was the lead guy.
Yeah, last year he was the number 1 back. So
he can do it. We know he can do it.
Mm-hmm.
He's just kind of falling out because Fournette's got hot. But especially if Fournette misses time. If Fournette's out at all, I think he's definitely one of the top 3 ads this week.
Well, I'm just going into this assuming that he's going to be playing next week at least. So is the main guy. So
I mean, and for Buccaneers fans, I don't necessarily think that's the most horrible replacement for Fournette is to have Ronald Jones be able to step up into the place because we know that he's been there. He was there last year when they went to the Super Bowl. So it's not horrible. It's not like the end of the world. But for fantasy wise, he's probably one of the guys. I don't know. If it was me, I'd probably put in a waiver on him just because I know that running backs are so hard to come by right now.
I honestly just might. Put a waiver in.
Yeah. Well, in our family league, it's one of the most competitive leagues I've ever been in. If he's available, I mean, that's the best guy available. I mean, like you said, Zach, you already have Amon-Ra. You already have Russell Gage, who's even out there. So,
yeah,
right.
12-team leagues for sure. He might be out there.
Right.
And we have to talk about this guy because of how he went off this week. Tyler Huntley. If Lamar remains out, I think he's a must grab.
Definitely.
For obvious reasons.
He threw some balls. He threw some balls that looked better than the balls Lamar Jackson throws. Now, it might have just been a 1-week thing, but he did look like he was comfortable, looked like a QB out there. So that's he's great. He's a great backup for sure. He's very impressive.
Yeah, Kyle, you got anything on him?
I think that he's going to get running volume and the rushes. Obviously, we saw that yesterday. They still basically kind of had like about the same game plan as they normally do with Lamar Jackson, where there's a lot of rushes. There's a lot of him taking off. I mean, heck, the touchdown to tie the game, the touchdown that could have tied the game was him running it in for 12 or 15 yards. So he's got some wheels that can go. He did throw some really pretty balls, but he also just looked at times uncomfortable and everything. Obviously, we know it's Green Bay, but still, I think if you're desperate for a quarterback, I think he's one of the best pickup because they have so many options around him in terms of offensive weapons that he can basically just give the ball to and have them work their magic. And if he does stay, if Lamar Jackson does stay out to where Tyler Huntley's then going to get a whole nother week of practice with the number 1 squad this week, could be even better with a little bit more practice and getting used to the receivers and everything.
Yeah.
Agreed. Zach, I'm going to let you gloat a little bit about Gabriel Davis here.
Gabriel Davis. So, really struggling to start the year. I called him up, had a chat with him, flew him out to Illinois, and I was working him out in my backyard. Just we rediscovered. I just sat him down and I was like, listen, what do you want your career to be? Listen, we're just gonna rebuild this thing from the studs, you and me, Gabriel. What do you say? So, anyways, cue the Rocky music. This guy working out, every day, doing his jumping jacks. Yeah, so we just, and then we just relearned what it is to be a wide receiver, and and here we are. I take 100% responsibility. Gabriel Davis, great job, young man.
Here's the question, though, for me, Zach. This is the question.
Yeah.
My only hesitation, is he a touchdown-dependent back?
He is.
Okay. Well, or wide out. I meant wide out. But, yeah, a touchdown, at least one each of the past 3 weeks, 2 this week. But 85 yards as well, so he has increased his yardage.
Yeah. He has the potential. He's one of those guys that the reason I always liked him is because he's so big. I think he's like 6'5", 6'6", and he's also very fast. And that size and speed, you like. But they picked up Emmanuel Sanders, and Emmanuel Sanders was playing great, and there just wasn't a lot of opportunity for Davis. But very talented guy. Has all the make all the catches. He just needed an opportunity, and they started getting it. But yeah, he has all the ability to. Over his career, he has been touchdown dependent. He does score a lot of touchdowns ever since he's been in the league. Like his rookie year last year, he scored 7, and he's on pace to maybe break that. So far this year, he could get 7 or 8. So I mean, he is kind of touchdown dependent for his stats, but if he's going to start putting up some yards too, it's just we got to see a little. I want to see more consistency, right? But yeah, so that's why he's gotten more.
He's the number 2, really.
Do you think he cools off against New England though? That's who they play next.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be tough, but I think the volume is going to be there though. At the very least, I think he at least could be like a flex if you need to pick somebody up in a very deep league. I think he could be a flex guy.
He's the true number 2 next to Stephon Diggs.
Yeah,
more people own Beasley, but I don't think Beasley's near as talented, like you said. And their double coverage in New England is going to be focused on Stephon Diggs, so Davis could still do good.
Mm-hmm.
And you also want to grab him as potentially your second or third waiver ad, because the week after that, which might be your championship week, is Atlanta.
Yeah.
That's true. That's like a must play.
Yeah, I think I'll definitely. I mean, he's definitely worth a pickup and flex play. But yeah, he can keep this up if the volume's going to be there, and if the volume's going to be there, he's a guy that you want, because when he gets the targets, he usually puts up the numbers.
For sure. How high would you rank him out of the? We've had a lot of wide receivers to grab this week. How high would you rank him among Amon-Ra St. Brown, Russell Gage, Christian Kirk, and him? Let's go with him, because I feel like Antonio Brown's more owned. So
yeah, I'll
rank 4th there, or
he's the 4th for me, just because Christian Kirk could be the number 1. That I like Christian Kirk as the number 1 just a hair more than Gabriel Davis is the number 2, and then I don't think that he's worth an ad over Amon-Ra or Russell Gage. So.
But is he worth an ad over Josh Reynolds?
I think he's worth an ad over Josh Reynolds, yes.
Okay. All right, there you have it, folks. Eckler's been added to the COVID list, Austin Eckler. So are you grabbing Justin Jackson, the running back for the Chargers?
Yes, because he does great whenever he gets an opportunity. He's a really good backup running back. Mm-hmm. Similar to Ronald Jones.
And the team is kind of finding rhythm now, are they not?
Yeah, they are. I mean, they just lost, but
I thought they had 2 wins in a row.
Didn't they just lose to Kansas City?
Here, let me look up.
lost one, yeah.
They did just lose. However, though, I thought they had been getting more hot. I'll find out. I'll find out real quick.
No, they were on like a 3-game winning streak or something, like a 2 or 3 game win streak. It was against Kansas City, so it's not like it's a bad loss. It's a good loss. But yeah,
it was a close game. It was a close game, man.
It was a low-score game.
They've been playing a lot better.
They have been playing a lot better.
Before that, basically they beat the Steelers. They did lose pretty handily to the Broncos, but then they beat the Bengals and they beat the Giants before then losing in overtime to the Chiefs. So beat some good teams there. Lost to a Broncos team that is 500 or better, but beat some good opponents. And then this next game is against the Texans. So I think with that matchup, absolutely picking him up.
He's a pickup for sure. He might be the number 2 running back just behind Jones.
For sure. So you have Jones ranked as 1?
I have Jones ranked as 1 just because he can catch passes. Justin Jackson is not a pass catcher.
What about Jeff Wilson Jr. in there?
It's close between JJ and JW. I think they're both about the same if they get the start. One or the other really between Wilson and Jackson. Because if Jackson gets all the carries, he's a great running back. He can average 5 yards a carry if he gets the volume. Same thing with Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson maybe can catch. Maybe he's a more well-rounded back, but Justin Jackson will get you 100 yards and like a couple touchdowns. So
for sure.
I think that you go for Ronald Jones, and if you can't get one of those two, you go for JW or JJ.
Yeah, if you're running back focused on your waiver ads, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Marquis Valdez Scantling. Needs a name change, but other than that, he's been playing really well.
Yeah, he could use a couple more hyphens.
Yeah, are you guys grabbing him? I know he's not been a dependable guy. He has these weeks where he goes off and then he's done for a month.
He would be a guy that if I couldn't get Russell Gage, Gabriel Davis, any of those other 5 even Josh Reynolds, he would be a guy that I would add on. I couldn't get any of those guys. I add him on a Thursday or something.
Okay, so you're thinking he's the 6th ranked wideout for our list.
6th so far. I don't know if there's more wide receivers we're gonna hit in a little down the list here, but yeah, he's last so far of the guys we've talked about. Absolutely. It's just because there's no consistency with him, and there's not like there's anybody hurt right now on Green Bay,
Yeah, is there anybody hurt that we're missing, Kyle? Or it seems like you're kind of high on him. What are your thoughts?
He's just a guy that I've just kind of kept my eyes out for basically this whole season. But the reason I don't have him is because of this. But he's 15.3% rostered with Yahoo. The weekend against Baltimore, which is a pretty good defense, a little banged up, but still a pretty decent defense. 5 receptions on 7 targets, 98 yards and a touchdown. The past 4 games, his number of targets has been 10, 9, 5, and then 7. So obviously there's that volume that we're talking about, even on a pretty stacked receiving roster, including having obviously Adams on there, who's probably one of the best wideouts in all of football right now. Their next 3 games are Cleveland, Minnesota, and then Detroit. So I think looking at those games, looking at how Green Bay is playing right now,
dominant.
The volume's there. It's just a matter of if we can bring him in and actually get him for big yards, I feel like that's the only issue. But I don't know if you're panicking for someone, I'm going to take a guy that's getting volume from Aaron Rodgers versus a guy that's getting maybe volume from anybody else. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you're getting volume from Aaron Rodgers, who's playing great this year right now, I'll take him over anyone else if I'm desperate.
I think if you're desperate for sure, especially if you put in waiver claim for some of these other guys and you don't get them, I think this guy's a pretty good ad. If you can't get one of the other guys, just take a chance. Nothing wrong with taking a chance on a guy like that for sure on a good team, and he's getting some targets. Like Kyle pointed out, I didn't know he was getting that many targets. So those are good numbers. When you're getting double-digit targets and you're the 3rd wide receiver, That's not terrible. So,
Who's the two?
Lazard, I feel like, is the 2.
Okay. So this is what I feel like. I feel like he's always had, like you said, Devontae Adams as the number 1, and then he was switching off between these 3, Randall Cobb, Lazard, and Scantling, as whoever he felt like having the number 2 is. It's like he's toying,
Right.
But if you're going to go that route, like you need to grab one, you could also just grab Lazard for next week, and that might be an easier grab.
Yeah, but I think that what they're kind of doing is Lazard's a little bit bigger. I think they're kind of playing him in as kind of like a tight end type. They're just kind of having him run along the middle. So they're using all 3 of these guys. They're using Lazard more like a tight end these days because of the season-ending injury to his name escapes. Yeah, Tanyan. And they don't really have another true tight end, at least that I've seen. The very limited tape I've seen on Green Bay kind of looks like they're playing Lazard as kind of like that tight end type role.
Well, he went off. It's like he went off last week, and then everybody grabbed him, right? He went up 7.6%. And Scantling goes off, so everyone's going to grab him. So you might have a free grab in Alan Lazard, is what I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah,
so
between the 2 of them, I think you could pick up either one of those 2, and it would be a decent little bench move.
Sure.
As far as injuries, because I know you guys were asking, there's really no one from their reserves, their wide receivers, or anything that's at least on injured reserve. I don't know. I'm on ESPN's official site. They have Randall Cobb is out, and then I don't even know who this is.
Yeah.
Quanimius St. Brown. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly.
Oh yeah, Amon-Ra's brother.
I don't know. I have no idea.
It is Amon-Ra's.
Is it actually? Or you just saying
no, I'm being serious. No, Equanimous. Yeah.
I couldn't tell either. That's why I didn't really respond at first.
Well, the more you read both of their first names, it makes sense.
Yeah. Hey, unique. Ain't nobody else going to be able to take that name from you. You're the only one. You know.
No one else is going to be able to put that on the back of a jersey either.
Right. True. That's true. It's true.
All right. Well, let's go to the next guy then. Craig Reynolds. 2 good weeks in a row filling in for DeAndre Swift, and we know Detroit's kind of hot right now. Are you grabbing him?
Mm-hmm. Yes, because Swift and Jamal Williams are out. They're giving this guy a bunch of carries. I mean, why not? I like to grab starting running backs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just got to keep an eye on Swift with his shoulder. He might practice this week and could be back. But if you could, squeeze one more week out of Reynolds, that could win you a playoff matchup.
Definitely.
He's not like a must grab though. I'm not gonna, put my foot down.
No, he's like a, he's a speculative ad if you don't get like Jeff Wilson or something.
For sure. And Kyle, I see you have 5 more guys here you want to hit. So take us away.
I was just going down through what interested me this past weekend. One that I pretty much think we'll all agree on, but Duke Johnson had 25.7 points. Miami decided to keep him on the active roster going into into this upcoming next game. Obviously because of his performance, 2 touchdowns. One-hit wonder, are we thinking? Do we think this is something that he can continue again? Is it something to where he can get even half those points and still get 13 or 14 points?
I think he can because if he gets the volume, yeah, he definitely can because he's a good pass-catching back. If they're so injury-riddled that they're giving him playing time, I think he's definitely a guy you can consider adding, definitely.
Okay, here we go. I'm going exact opposite.
Okay.
It was against the Jets, and then the next 3 weeks he's playing good-ass defenses.
The Jets are like the 9th-rated run defense.
Are they?
Yeah.
I need to see the...
He didn't know that, but I have a feeling it won't change his opinion.
Yeah, no, New Orleans is a better defense. Tennessee is a better defense. And New Orleans like you said, just shut down Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
The only reason that I'm going to say probably a one-hit wonder is also because you had the other 2 running backs. You had Gaskin and you had Ahmed, who were both just prior to the game, I think 1 or 2 days prior to the game, were on the COVID protocol. And they were able to test negative twice to be able to be back on the active roster. But I don't know why, but maybe just because of their conditioning or what. But the coach said, I'm not going to promise that they're really going to play at all. And they didn't. So I think he's going to be a one-hit wonder, especially coming up with those guys back, hopefully healthy again, not back on the COVID protocol, and then with their opponents that they're facing.
And the Jets rushing yards per game allowed, they're the 30th ranked. I don't know.
So I told you they're top 10 against the run. I told you the numbers don't lie, and we can move on now. Okay. So
I was gonna say I feel like I would have heard about this. Are their defense yards a game? They're ranked third.
I thought it was against
rushing.
Against running back, but maybe
I read it's third.
I think I read it wrong.
It has yards per game. It's yards per game. They have it ranked, right? So it makes you think they're ranked third, but it's actually putting the top amount of yards allowed at the top. So that's probably what screwed you there. But yeah.
Okay, so stat wrong. So come to me for all your stat questions. I know my stuff. I'm well researched.
Yeah, but
got it. Makes sense. I'll call you after the show.
Well, who else we got? We already went over Josh Reynolds.
Yeah, we did. Okay, Josh Reynolds already done.
What do you think, Jake?
Next guy that I put down was just like an absolute panic guy. If you can't get anybody else, you have no one else, or you have a late addition to the injury or the COVID list to where you're all of a sudden, oh my gosh, one of my starters or my flex got taken out. I have no one else. There's no one to pick up. There's a guy on Jacksonville, Laquan Treadwell. He's only rostered in 0.7%, but this past week got 11.7 points in full PPR. Last 4 games, his point stats have been 9.3, 10.2, 10.8, 11.7.
Yep.
And those are all without touchdowns. So for him, he's getting at least 5 targets, and this past week he got 9. So he's got the volume. If he has that same volume and catches a touchdown, which he hasn't caught one this season, so obviously the odds are if he keeps catching passes, he's going to get one hopefully soon. I mean, that could be a big week for that guy. So I had him down as an absolute like emergency fill-in. He's obviously available in almost every single league out there. So just to keep him in your back pocket.
They play the Jets.
So there you go. So that's even better. So if you need a guy, he was just someone who intrigued me.
If you're struggling to navigate the injuries, he can help you tread your playoff push really well.
Oh my Lord. Dad joke. We're gonna get you a button. We have to. But yeah,
for sure.
And then this one was an interesting one. I wanted to ask you guys about, which actually I don't have his. I want to see if I have his stats correct after the end of the game. But I had down Donovan Peoples-Jones for Cleveland, only in 17.6% of leagues. He was a curious one to me. He had past 8.8 points tonight, and then the one last week had 14 in full PPR. No less than 5 targets in his last 4 healthy games. Mullins had used him a lot, but hopefully Mayfield obviously was only out with COVID, so he should probably be back next week. Think that he's an emergency ad or no?
Yeah, we pegged him as a second half breakout potential, and then he really didn't live up to that. Zach's breaking up here.
He is breaking
really
up.
Good content.
It was the dad joke, man. It just destroyed his Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Hey, Zach, are you back with us? Zach, you there?
I don't think he's there.
Okay, he was breaking up, but no, Zach and I pegged him as a second half breakout after that big performance, I think in week 9. And then he never really lived up to that still. I guess it's just kind of the team has been on and off. But yeah, I like him as another kind of consistent grab. He looks like he's done decent in the past. Out of the 5 games he's played in the past 7 weeks, he's done good in 3 of them. So I think you can grab him, and they know they're gonna have to shoot it out with Green Bay next week.
And honestly, so with Cleveland's loss tonight, if they won against Las Vegas, they'd take over first place in their conference. Now that they've lost, they are now in last place. So it's a must-win game. And of course it comes against Green Bay, one of the best teams in the NFL right now, to where that they have to have a must-win game against. But unfortunately, that's either going to make or break probably this Cleveland team right now, especially with how tight the AFC race is, like we talked about earlier. So that was my opinion. I think it's an emergency ad. The last
deeply grab for sure.
People
Absolutely.
have spoken. They want their Donovan
he's
Jones.
Oh my God! He comes back for another one.
Goes back for dad joke. Watch it. You're going to kill your Wi-Fi again. That's what happened the last time. And then I threw down because I wanted to from last time, but I have 2 defensive and then a kicker, just because I feel like those positions are always never really talked about a lot. So in case people need somebody, and that's the position they need, here we go.
The kicker's making the thumbnail this week. The kicker's making the thumbnail.
No, they're not. We'll talk about him.
We'll talk about.
I'll put him in the back as like the size of a fly. How about that?
Go ahead.
I'm like confetti in the background.
Yeah.
So the one that I brought up was defense-wise was Detroit against Arizona, who we know have Kyler Murray, some high-powered weapons like we've talked about. Obviously missing Hopkins, though. They still had eight fantasy points in full PPR. They're going up against Atlanta. Atlanta's been playing a little bit better, but do you still think that it's a possible desperation move if you need a defense?
I would still be scared to actually start Detroit's defense, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was in that desperate of a situation, which God help me if I ever am, I mean that's we're talking 16 team league here for that, right?
16 team league. That's a lot. That's a lot.
For picking up Detroit's defense and starting them,
that would have
to be a deep move.
It was just an Atlanta matchup grab.
But I'd still be scared of Atlanta, doing well against them. Because I personally feel like this was more of like a fluke performance against Arizona.
Okay.
I'm not sure Detroit's defense found something, but I could be wrong. I have been wrong. So.
Didn't know if they were just maybe a streaming 1 week option just with that. The other defense that I have down is Kansas City. So last 4 games that they've had 3 really good games of 15 points, 17 points, and 24 points. They did have 1 game with only 3, but those are some pretty good games mixed in with the one bad one. It's a tough matchup next against Pittsburgh, but I feel like, depending on all the rest of these defenses that are pretty banged up, I feel like there's still not a whole lot of big names on Kansas City's defense that are out right now. And I'm going to see how much they're rostered. Right now in Yahoo Fantasy, 25.9% rostered.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, looking at their games against some really good teams, they've played really well, possibly a streamer. Maybe even you need a deeper defense that can go take you deeper into the playoffs if you're in it. What do you guys think?
I like this defense a lot more than Detroit's for sure. Mm-hmm. I would definitely pick up Kansas City's. We actually talked about it a little bit last week too. I love Kansas City's defense. I'd be picking them up. Sure.
Awesome. The last one that I have is a kicker, because we got to make sure that we get every position right. For kickers, this guy just interested me, obviously based on our league, just because of we're in a 12 people league, so it's pretty deep. But we have Brett Maher on in not St. Louis. What are they? My God. But we have Brett Maher, who is in New Orleans. 0.2% rostered, but the last 2 weeks he's had 12 points and then 9 points in full PPR. Next game's up against Miami, possibly a lot of scoring, possibly not, with how well they were able to play against who we thought was the top team in Tampa Bay. Do you guys think that he's maybe a emergency fill-in or a streamer for this week?
I think that's good because Miami, they got a good defense. So when you're playing teams with when you're a good offense going up against good defenses, that normally spells there'll be field goals kicked. So I think Brett Maher, that's a very good, be someone very good to consider especially if you don't have a top 5 kicker and you're in a playoff matchup and you're looking for, your kicker hasn't been good for maybe like 3-4 weeks in a row and you need to win a playoff matchup. Brett Maher would be a very good guy to look at because I think he definitely is going to score some points in that situation against Miami. So
true. And as far as the way that he goes on this season, he is 8 for 9. In the past 2 weeks, last week against the Jets was 3 for 3 with 12 points, and then against Tampa Bay was 3 for 3 for 10 points. So, I mean, the guy seems to be really accurate playing for them. So that was what I thought. What?
I'm gonna one down you on the percent owned, 0.1% owned. Eddie Pinheiro on the Jets, and they play Jacksonville next week. And he didn't start playing for them until like week 14. That's why he's so low. Yeah. He's on the Jets, but another one you could grab too.
And then I have another guy, the guy that I actually talked about last week, Evan Mcpherson. He's the number 3 kicker as we speak right now. And for Cincinnati, he's only 29% rostered. Just go check. Just go check.
Wow, that's a crime.
Yeah, he got 13 just this last week against Denver on Saturday or Sunday, yesterday, whatever it was. Yesterday, got 13 points. Definitely a guy worth going to pick up. Number 3 kicker, 29% rostered. Go pick him up. Add him to your championship winning team.
Absolutely. Because that's all we do here, right? We help to build championship winning teams.
Yep, build those championship winning teams. And we're just going to, public service announcement before we wrap it up here. We're just going to keep saying it, screaming it from the mountaintops. It's the Garden of Sports philosophy. If you want to win a championship in football, you have to pay attention to your defense and kickers. So that's why for the playoffs, we're bringing up defenses and kickers to add. It's not normally something we would spend a lot of time talking about, but you're in a playoff matchup. You're scratching and clawing for every point you can get. If you can pick up a defense that can score you 15 points, that takes a lot of pressure off some of your other guys. That really, really helps you be able to win and, have a better record, make the playoffs. That defense and kicker is a very important part of fantasy, even if it's not one that you pay all your attention to. But yeah, it is an important thing. So hopefully you can add Evan Mcpherson or some of these other guys we're talking about for your kicking spot and get you an easy 10 points.
For sure. No, I agree. Because especially even with defenses, you need a defense that doesn't go negative on you. At the very least, you can't shoot yourself in the foot. But then if you can get a defense that gets you more than 10 points, then I always said if I can get a defense that is going to score more points than what they start out with, obviously at the beginning of the game they start out with 10 points. If I can get a team that's going to keep around that 10 points or get more, then that's instantly as good as what I'm hoping for a flex-ish category, is getting double-digit points. So I agree. I think it's big. What do you think, Jake?
No, I agree, and you got to keep saying it because if a number 3 kicker is available in 80% of leagues, that's a problem, and people don't really care, and they might just lose their playoff matchup because of it. So.
And honestly, before we go, I'm just going to type this guy in real quick. I know he's the number 1 kicker. I want to see how owned he is.
Folk?
Oh, okay. Nick Folk is 83% owned. So that's kind of more what you'd expect from the number 1 ranked guy. But yeah, Evan Mcpherson, he's been in the top 10 all season. So it's not like he just squeaked in there recently. He's been a top 10 kicker all year.
Weird.
Evan Mcpherson. So yeah, it is kind of weird.
Crazy, actually. That's odd. That's very odd. Interesting.
Well, Kyle, thanks for coming on again.
Hey,
man, thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's always a good time. Obviously, kind of a weird talking ball. obviously kind of just a weird week in terms of just all the injuries and all the COVID that we've had. So I think that it was we had a lot of names today, but of some pretty important positions, running back, receiver, everything, to try and help people who are really maybe hurting going into this next week with everyone that they might be losing. So, guys, as always, make sure you follow these guys everywhere. These guys are the only one Garden Sports that I know of that does all the different fantasy. If you guys need anything fantasy-wise, whether it's baseball, hockey, basketball, or football, these guys are the guys that do it all. They do fantasy nonstop year-round. So these guys kind of know what they're doing. They know what they're talking about. They know the stats. Spread it around, send it to your friends. Make sure you like the video. Make sure to send it to people. Send them the link. Say, hey, I'm trying to help you out for the playoffs. I know I'm going to be sending this to a few different people who have made playoffs just because I didn't. But absolutely go and give these guys a follow and a like on the video and everything just to help support them because this is a really awesome thing that they're doing.
Oh, thank you, man. Best plug of the year. Best plug of the year right there. I couldn't do it better myself. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hoping to have you on a lot more next year. So.
Yeah, we wanna have more guests and we want to involve more of our friends and people into this too. It's as we try to build this community, build this family. That's what we want to eventually see it as. We see it as a potential family community over here at the Garden of Sports, and we're at the ground on the ground floor right now. But this is I'm just excited about where we're at and where we're going, and it's a pleasure to be doing this, to bring you all this information every week, and I am having a great time.
It's awesome. Glad to hear it. Well,
hell yeah.
I'll let you guys wrap it up before I keep talking and make you guys go over into 2 episodes, which I think we already probably did. So.
No, we're good.
No, I'm good.
There was a lot to cover this week. There was a lot to cover.
A lot of guys to grab. Might have to put 5 people in the graphic this time.
Make sure you get that kicker in there. Just add Evan Mcpherson to the.
I just put 5 kickers in the graphic. Must grabs. Yes. All right, guys.
All right.
Catch you on the flippity flip.
Catch you next week, everybody.
It's been a pleasure. To anyone who's listening and everything, make sure to happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever you celebrate. Yes. Hopefully it's with the family. Hopefully everyone's healthy, whether it's virtual or in person this year. Hope everyone at home is good. Good luck in the football playoffs, and can't wait to be able to talk to you guys next year.
Hell yeah, Merry Chrysler. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.